If you were to pinpoint one aspect of what Douglas said that you simply find either incorrect or limited, what would that aspect be? As you could see, Douglas is giving what you would call nowadays the standard liberal position. He's saying we should be colorblind, we should ignore race, and we shouldn't limit ourselves to our race, we shouldn't limit ourselves to those physical, transient, meaning short-lived, transient aspects of ourselves. We should focus not primarily, but entirely on the universal aspects of ourselves. What do you feel about that? I mean, this is as a frontal assault as there can be on identity politics. There could not be anything more opposed to the current moment in our politics than what Douglas is writing. I should note there are a couple of things I should note as biographical matters, which may color your perception of Douglas. I think it's fair to say the woman he originally married, she was barely literate, and he treated her I would have to say, in a very shabby fashion. And then he ended up marrying a white woman, which was not very popular, as you can imagine, among Black people at the time. It's also true to say that he was, I don't know of the word using, exploiting, let's just say he was taking advantage of the fact that he was Black because he became the Black spokesperson for the Republican Party at the time, a different party, that was the party of Lincoln. And he was very conscious of the various firsts he had achieved as a Black person, whether being an official in Washington, D.C., whether representing the U.S. government in Haiti, whether even meeting with Abraham Lincoln. He was cognizant that these were, for lack of a better term, these were Black achievements. So to some extent, I think he's walking a thin line here because he's cognizant these are Black achievements, but he would probably answer yes, but these were achievements as a human being and not Black achievements. So how do you respond to that, Mr. Romanelli?
I couldn't agree with him more. I agree with him 100%. 100%. I don't find any flaw in his logic or his thinking.
But you understand that even Cornel West would take great exception to this speech. Because Cornel, when you listen to him speak, yes, he talks about brother, sister, humanity. Right. But then when you press him, as he's been pressed on Black programs or Black podcasts, he says, of course, my first loyalty is to Black people. He's very emphatic and clear on that point. So, and I think if you were to have pressed the great figures of the 20th century, be it a W.E.B. Du Bois or a Paul Robeson, they would say, of course, we identify first as Black. That is our fundamental, foundational identification. I think that's a fair statement.
I agree, but I think also in being Black, you're born into, you're assigned Black as you're the oppressed, right? You're being oppressed, so you have no choice but to be Black and to be oppressed. So he's addressing that reality as a Black man.
When you say he, you mean
Cornel West.
Cornell?
Yeah.
I think he's, in my opinion, but I could be wrong, he's more than just addressing the reality. He is speaking to, well, I don't know. I'm not going to say. Let's see. Who do we have here? Mr. Jean-Philippe Stone. As an Irish person, and therefore there's a lot of Irish self-identity, and certainly the best and most impressive figures, like what's her name? Berna. Oh gosh, the Irish woman from the 70s, Berna. You know who I mean. Jean-Philippe. Can you unmute him?
Oh, I see.
Thank you very much. I think you mean Bernadette Devlin from Northern Ireland.
Yes. Do you think any non-Irish person could make as articulate a case for the oppression of Irish as she did?
Well, I mean, you could say that Frederick Douglass did a very good job himself. I mean, I finished reading his autobiography, My Bondage and My Freedom, this afternoon. And I mean, he made fleeting references to, very brief, but still a few references to the struggle in Ireland that was going on against the British. So he was, I think, yes, it is possible to be non-Irish and to speak of that experience in an eloquent and powerful way. I mean, Frederick Douglass certainly did so. I mean, even though he was careful at the time not to, shall we say, anger too much the British monarchy or the British, but still, I think you could see, even in My Bondage and My Freedom, he was, how do you say, well, he could sympathize with the Irish cause. I think there was an extract, I think, at the very beginning of the book where he compares the slave songs, the slave hymns that he used to listen to in his youth, and then he says, "Well, I could hear this similar wailing in the Irish Isle, in the Emerald Isle." I mean, it's very evocative. It's not. He doesn't delve deeper, shall we say. I think I'd have to read more of his speeches that it took place in Dublin, but you could tell that there was certainly a kind of not exactly collaboration, but at least an understanding there. There was the basis for understanding. So I think it's entirely possible.
If you were to speak or make the devil's advocate case, what would be your devil's advocate case against Douglass? Isn't there some place for this notion of Black pride or Latino pride or the various kinds of racial, ethnic, sex prides? Isn't there some place for that in a progressive politics? Or is it all, as Douglass puts it, nonsense?
Not sure. I think I'd have to think about that more. I'm not sure what to say, honestly. It's
Okay. So let me ask Tanwir, do you feel that Douglass has gotten a little bit carried away in his denunciation of any recognition of race as a component in an enlightened vision?
Well, thank you. Several things. First, I think it seems to me when you do have oppression, when there is slavery or oppression of other peoples, the oppressed group is not recognizing the humanity of that group. I mean, at the very minimum, of course, they're benefiting from it too. So after they come out of this oppression, to take, if you have been completely oppressed and you've not been allowed to study, to have literacy or things like that, if they take pride in their traditions or culture or the resilience, that in itself is not negating other people's humanity. So I would say that that can be justified as long as you do not you recognize other people and other civilizations and cultures and so forth. I think there is a place for definitely a place for that. I think as Steve pointed out, earlier, that a doctor can identify treating cancer. You don't have to have cancer in order to treat cancer, but the pain of having a cancer or being a slave, you can still say slavery is wrong without being a slave, but the experience of being a slave or experience of having a cancer or experience of childbirth, I think there's experiential knowledge and kind of knowledge by descriptions. That's, I would say, but I largely agree with what Douglas is saying, but he might not, there might be positive areas of identity without disrespecting other people.
I'm not sure for Douglas the issue is disrespecting other people. I think his argument, as I understand it here, is there's no place for attaching value to race in a progressive politics. That if you are involved, committed yourself to a progressive kind of politics, there is no positive value to valuating, that means giving value to.
Right. Yeah.
There's no positive value to valuating race in any progressive politics.
Yeah.
At the moment somebody starts prating, as Douglas says, the moment somebody starts prating about race, at that moment, it's revealed that person is not really part of a progressive ideal. So, when you come into a seminar class and somebody says, speaking as a Black lesbian, which is quite common nowadays, the moment you hear that, the signal has been transmitted. Whatever else this is, it's not progressive politics. Or speaking as, no, you're speaking as a human being, or you're speaking as a reactionary. Now that's what he's saying, unless I'm misinterpreting something here. But all of this, speaking as somehow a vital part of your identity, and two, as giving you some sort of political license. Doctor says, away with it.
No, it doesn't give you a political license, or it doesn't say, just because you're a Black lesbian doesn't mean you're necessarily right about certain things. You may have some experience that others may not, or to know that oppressing one group or other or torture is wrong. You don't have to be tortured in order to know that torture is wrong. I mean, clearly, you can make a judgment based on common humanity and understanding. That I agree with Douglas. But can you take pride that you have certain history or culture and so forth? There is nothing wrong with that, I think. And Douglas doesn't say that there is anything wrong with that, as I understand.